OK，那今天呢，我们就说有幸请到我们组织隐形技能管理领域的一个大神级人物，那个哈兰先生给大家去分享如何运用一个神奇的系统，把各类的这个笔记内容转化为智慧。那么，然后在演讲之前呢，我们先来认识一下我们今天的演讲嘉宾，就是哈兰先生。那哈兰先生他是个做笔记和思维工具领域的先驱者，他也作为这个大佬公司的这个大佬软件公司的首席执行官和首席技术官，他在推动个人知识萃取和灵活分享领域有一些独特的变革。那么呢，我呢是因为今年呢，差不多8月份左右，我结识了另外一个朋友，他用了这个The Brain 公司这个软件，然后呢，他的名字叫 Jerry， 然后呢，他当时呢给我去展现一下他如何用他这套系统之后，我很惊讶。当时呢，这位先生呢，他是25年内，他把他所有的笔记记在一个文件里面，并且呢，神奇的地方是什么呢？所有的文件上面的记的知识要点都可以相互之间建立链接和查询，和相互之间可以去对话。这个呢，我觉得是很神奇一件事情。这正好呢，与我们在做发掘一个人的隐形知识领域这个选取的工具所非常的密切相关。所以基于这样的情况呢，我们这次非常荣幸的请到这家公司的创始人和 CEO， 然后呢和他的首席技术官来今天给我们分享他是怎么做到的，好吧？那么等一下呢，我们就来听听他的那个讲座啊。然后呢，那么今天这个讲座呢，首先跟大家分享一下是什么呢？这个讲座呢是由蒙科、Mentoring 和 GO-TKM 联合主办。那 GO-TKM 就是组织隐形知识管理全球智库。那首先讲一下蒙科，蒙科呢，它是成立于1981年，它是目前是冠军及头部企业服务商，它是企业导师技术以及组织隐形知识管理的全球知名教育和咨询品牌。那我们的总部呢位于比利时布鲁塞尔，全球呢目前有近600名左右的专业顾问，在41个国家和地区，专门为跨国公司、国际组织以及政府机构等提供隐形知识萃取及企业传承的相关的培训和咨询，在业界里面呢是久负盛名的。那么我们呢，这个组织隐形知识管理全球智库呢，它也是一家总部位于比利时布鲁塞尔的非营利性国际智库。它的主要目的是为了推动组织隐形知识管理在全社会的运用，有利于推动整个人类的高效学习。因为我们人类几千年来，每个人都在不断的去积累大量的经验和智慧到大脑里面去，但当他人老去的时候，这些经验和智慧大多数都会随风飘逝了。那我如何去让这个积累的大量的经验智慧能够沉淀下来，为后人所用，不再成为浪费？所以这就是这个组织呢所它带来的使命。那么后面呢，接下来我们有请今天的我们演讲嘉宾哈兰先生。Now welcome Mr. Harlan for your webinar. Thank you. Let me give you the right to share your screen.
Very good.
Okay, just a second. Let me stop sharing. And you will do that. Okay. Just do it. Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, Fisher, for the introduction. Unfortunately, I could not understand it, but I'm sure it was very nice.
Thank you. Thank you.
My name is Harlan Hugh. I'm the CEO and founder of the Brain Technologies. I'm here to talk to you today about tacit knowledge management and how the brain software can help you achieve knowledge capture in your organizations and in your life. We've been working on this in this area for a long time, and we've got a nice demonstration plan for you. And also, I'm just going to kind of give you a little bit of background before I get into that.
OK，首先介绍一下自己，那我的名字叫 Harlan Hugh，然后我是那个大佬科技公司的 CEO 和创始人。那今天呢，很荣幸呢，我就是今天用飞笑这个平台来跟大家去分享一下，我们如何去用一个好的系统和工具，帮助大家去做隐形知识管理。那么这个呢，我们在这个领域呢已经耕耘了很多年，我们有个很好的平台来帮助到大家。那今天就跟大家分享一下。
Okay, very good. So first of all, for a little background, let's just talk about knowledge for a little while. And what really is knowledge? Knowledge is much more than just the ability to recall facts or state single isolated pieces of information. Knowledge is about digesting facts and being able to turn them into an understanding which enables one to take action. If knowledge were just facts, then being able to look up things in a search engine or being able to query a database, that would be enough to form knowledge. But in fact, especially tacit knowledge, it's all about the connections between information and all of those typically unstated and inexplicit relationships that really is the key to being able to not just know an individual piece of information in isolation, but to be able to take that and transform it into something that you can make a decision about, make a plan on, and actually move forward with.
Yeah，那首先呢，我们来认识一下什么是知识啊。那知识呢，可能很多人理解它呢，常规性的话，大家都理解成什么？理解成很多的事实或者事实背后的一些东西。那么这个呢，通常性我们在讲这个 knowledge 这个知识这个层级呢，我们会把这个通过读取知识背后对对这个很多的事实背后的理解，然后理解完以后，通过它转换成这种行动。那么在这种情况呢，我们在讲通过这个行动的，通过这个理解转换的行动这个过程中，会带来很多的隐性的知识，会带来很多隐性的知识。那么这些隐性的东西呢，不仅仅是我们平时对这个知识本身的一个理解，还涉及到你在这个领域的运用。
Okay, very good. So the next logical question is, how do you actually go about capturing knowledge? What can we do to go beyond the traditional ways of sharing information and really take the next step to evolve our systems for handling knowledge? And I believe that the way to do that is to set up a system that mirrors the way that one thinks. This helps facilitate transforming facts into understanding by mirroring the processes that happen in your mind. So when you think of a piece of information, whether it's a person, a document, a company, or an activity, that item will trigger other related connections in your head, right? So when I think of a person, I think of the person that introduced me to them. I think of the place where they work. I think of what their area of expertise is. All of these different relationships or associations automatically spring to mind. And if we can build a system digitally, which reflects those same relationships, it will vastly improve the ability to move from just isolated bits of information into understanding that leads to action.
Yeah， 那么我们如何去抓取或者萃取这个知识呢？就是通常性情况下呢，我们这样可能对很多知识呢是一个一个点状的信息。那这个点状信息呢，通常性呢，它会当你去把很多的知识成为点状信息的，首先呢，你会在你的大脑里面有个投射，投射大脑里面去了以后，你会发现这个点状信息之间呢，它们之间可能会出现相互这个链接的，出现哪些关系？这一关系呢，这一关系可能会引发你呢，会到下一个等级的下一个层面去理解它背后的东西。那么在这种情况，你会很容易遇到个什么问题呢？就是说，所有这些知识点， 如果呢，我能把它相整个链接到一起来，并且呢，我还可以去查询，在这种情况下，对我来说，可能呢就会往往可能会获得了比这个信息点本身更多的这些价值来。所以在这种情况下，我们就想呢，哎，那如何去找到一个很好的系统呢？做这块东西呢？那么有个很好的系统来帮助我做这块，可能就变得更加的有效。那么这就是我们今天后面要来探讨的问题。
Very good. Okay, thank you, Fisher. We have just a few more slides before we get into the action here. I want to talk about a little bit more background. This slide is really just all about the traditional ways of organizing information and how these things are not adequate for capturing knowledge. So fundamentally, there are 4 different ways to organize information. The first is indexes, which you can think of like key value pairs, or the ability to look up a single piece of information. So this corresponds to something like a database where you can make a query, or a search engine where you can look for some text within content, or even to some extent an AI, where you can ask a query and get an answer back, right? So it's pointers from one thing to another. The second way of organizing information is in streams or blocks of content, okay? And whether that's a web page or a video like we're doing now, that's kind of like the fundamental way of humans consuming information. The problem is that there's often a mismatch between what the author says and what the audience is looking for. Should I pause here, Fisher?
Yeah, sorry. Just now, there's some line collection issues. I pause for a while. Just stop at the streams side. Let me finish the first session for the index side. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Because just now we have the line collection issues a little bit for that. Okay. 首先呢，我们跟大家去分享一下呢，就传统的就是那个这个信息流动里面啊，会出现一个情况，就是呢，它有很多它的有它的很多缺陷。那通常我们在这种讲呢，因为通常我们呢对知识结构的这个梳理呢，分成四种状态，4种情况。一种情况就我们用索引的这种方式，那索引这种方式，它是呢，它相当于是什么？在我们建立一个数据库啊，做很多查询系统啊等等，或者是用很多 AI 去进行搜索啊等等这些呢，可以帮助你去做。但这里面它有个很大的不好的地方是什么呢？很多这个信息之间，你查出来只是一个孤零零的信息，它中间不会出现相互的信息之间这个建立链接，它只是把信息简单的给到你，帮你搜寻到这个某一个知识点。Okay, maybe Harlan, you just repeat the session for streams.
Sure. So streams are blocks of content where information is organized linearly in a temporal nature. So whether that's a book, which is a very long series of text, or a web page, or even forms of audio or video like podcasts or YouTube videos or videos like we're making now. Those are another way of organizing information, but the problem is typically what the author or whoever created that stream the message they wanted to convey often does not match with what the consumer or the audience for that information is looking for. So unless you have a stream that matches exactly your use case, you wind up wasting a lot of time going through information that's not relevant to your use case.
Yeah. 那么第二个我们讲什么呢？就是信息流。那信息流是什么呢？就是说它可能在某一个场景中间呢，就一串的信息放在一起的，比如说一本书、一篇文章，或者是某一个具体的使用的方法等等。那这些东西呢，可能会出现什么情况呢？当你就是说使用的场景错了，可能这个信息流呢，对你来说可能就会对你产生一种误导。所以这是第二种情况。
Okay, very good. So the next type of information organization are collections. And collections are things like folders and files and blogs, places where you can group data together or group information together and kind of loosely organize it. So I can say, all of these files are related to my finances, right? Or all of these things are related to a new project I'm working on. But the problem with collections is that they're overly simplistic. You can only put one piece of information in a single place. At best, you get a hierarchical organization of information, and maybe you have things like aliases or shortcuts that let you sort of duplicate information between things. But collections are inherently very unscalable because once you start getting into hundreds of thousands or millions of pieces of information, it just becomes completely untenable.
Yeah. 那第三种情况是什么呢？就很多信息的集那个就是叫做总结，或者是叫做汇集成一个小册子样的，一个 folder 样的，或者那么在这种情况下，当这很多信息归到一起来以后呢，可能会出现什么呢？有很多可能，比如说在一个，比如说财务部啊，或者其他的很多部门里面，这些各种各样不同的信息呢，整理到一起去，它可能放在不同的文件夹里面。那这一类文件夹里都放一类信息，这一类信息呢，关于这一类信息可能比较深，但是呢，这种信息呢，可能就会杂乱无章，然后呢，可能有上千条、上万条这样的信息。这种信息呢，它有一个具备几个简单的特点是什么呢？第一，这种信息呢，它就是说信息处理比较简单，相互之间信息呢是没法进行相互之间去进行链接的。从这样的信息呢，使用起来你会很麻烦，因为很难去从中间找到一个脉络来把所有的信息相互之间串起来。所以这样的信息呢，仅仅呢只是供你所查询啊，简单的使用，你无法去规模化去使用它，并且不同的人使用这样的信息呢也是不一样的。
Very good. Okay. And then the final way that we have of organizing information is in networks. And networks are the most flexible, most sophisticated way of organizing information. There are a lot of networks. The problem is that they're intangible. You can't see them and they're difficult to interact with. So the internet itself, of course, is a network. Arguably, the most impressive feat of the human race so far. And then another powerful network, of course, is the one in your head. The way that you think is associative. It's a network. But again, it's very difficult to share that network because it's intangible, abstract, and there's no way for people to easily construct networks and share them. So this is where the brain is focused, creating a network that's easy to understand, easy to share, and easy to create.
Yeah. 那第四种情况是什么呢？就它是网络化。那网络化是什么呢？就是说它会让很多的这个信息啊相互进行链接。那这个链接以后呢，会出现一个什么情况呢？就是说当很多的这个网络化里面，可能比如说涉及到人与人之间关系，一个信息跟另外一个信息之间关系，那这种信息关系呢管理起来呢，你让你自己来去做这个就必须很艰难，因为你的大脑呢可能有很多的有很多的这个局限性。那么在这种情况，你要学把这种网络化的信息呢，要去分享给另外一个人呢，也会比较难，因为它非常的复杂。所以呢，在这种情况呢，你靠人工呢是没法进行做的。那么在这种就会用个系统来帮助你去怎么去做这种网络化的信息，把这个所有的信息呢建立一个网络，然后这种网络的东西呢能够快速的进行被传承。所以这就是说这个系统它所带来的魅力。那么下面我们来就是详细看看。
Great, thank you very much, Fisher. So that's kind of the background. I think with that, we should probably jump right into the demonstration so people can see exactly what it is I've been talking about.
Yeah.
It's kind of easy to.
那么前面呢，我们讲了世界。那么前面我们是讲了个这个今天我们这个分享的一个前面一部分一个引子。就为什么我们有知道我们需要做我们下面这块东西。那么后面这块呢，我们讲了最神奇的地方是什么呢？ 我们就是今天来看看我们今天呢，哈兰先生给我们这分享一下，做这个 demo， 去演示一下他这个系统是如何做到的。Okay, let's see how Hannah will show us. Thank you, Hannah.
Okay, great. Thanks. I'd like to introduce Matt Caton. He's our Director of Customer Solutions. He's going to help me out with the demo here. So we're just starting out with a brain here. So this is an example brain. And the brain is really a place to store all your information, whether it's your personal information or your business information, and it can all be interconnected. So here we have a brain that has travel plans, it has projects in it, businesses. And whenever we click on a piece of information, the whole screen rearranges and the active thought goes into the center. So we call each one of these objects thoughts, and those thoughts can represent any kind of digital information. So whether it's a document or a web page or a database entry or a message or a person, all of these things can be realized inside of the brain. So as you saw, we clicked down through the network and got into a particular project. So in this case, the remote team workshop is a project that we're working on, and you can see that it's under multiple categories. So where we came from was active projects. If we can go back up there. So active projects is under digital brain, and under active projects is the remote workshop. So in this way, we're kind of mimicking the collections that we talked about earlier through what we call a child-parent relationship. And unlike a conventional hierarchy, one piece of information can be in multiple places. So in this case, it's both under active projects as well as California office, London office, and Beijing office. All right. And then the kind of the basic layout that I want to help people understand is the relationships in the graph on the left side. The active thought is the one in the center. So that's kind of what we're focused on right now. And then the parent thoughts are above. So that's the categories that this information is contained inside of. The child thoughts are down below. And those are the things that are categorized under what we're working on right now. And then we have on the left what we call jump thoughts, which are pieces of information that are exclusively related to the active thought, but not related to each other. So I think this is all going to become more clear as we kind of go through the presentation. But just to give you kind of an orientation. And then I didn't talk about the thoughts on the right. Those are what we call siblings. And those are other things that are in the same category or categories that the current thought is on, right? And then the last thing to kind of orient you on in terms of the user interface is over on the right side of the screen here. This is where the content appears. So the content associated with the active thought is over on the right. In this case, it's a note with graphics and bullet points and so forth in it, but that could also be a web page or a document or any kind of attachment, right? Okay.
Okay.
So go ahead, Fisher.
Yeah. Let me do that very simple collection with our audience. So 刚刚就是汉兰先生讲了，就是说他在边上呢有他的一位IT 总监 Matt 先生，那么他呢等一下会给大家做这个帮助大家做这个 demo。那在他做 demo 之前呢，那么汉兰先生刚刚跟他简单跟大家讲一下这个系统大概是怎么玩的啊？他有这个可以把这个商业的工作上的东西和私人的东西，可以两块东西也可以集成，也可以把它分开，但都可以在一个系统里面。但在这种情况下，你的工作和生活也可以揉到一起来。然后呢，你的工作信息跟生活信息呢，可以相互之间建立链接，也可以相互之间呢有一定的隔离开来。那么，当然它这里呢，每个这个点，每个这个相当于这个信息点啊，这个信息点之间呢，你可以去把它有个跟上级和下级的关系，可以有一个树状的这种结构，一直往上去涨上去的。那么在这种情况下，它就把这所有的这些信息点呢建立到一起来，然后呢，所有的信息点这样相互之间可以去分享，可以去建立链接，然后可以去查询，也可以相互进行归类、分析、总结，它这样做的。那具体我们后面来看，后面的 demo， 好吧 ？OK， 好 ，Thank you。
Very good. Okay, so now that we've kind of given you a basic overview, we're going to look at a few different applications just so you can get a feel for how this might work in a particular application. So here we have a network map. So this is kind of an IT infrastructure type application. And in this case, we have various assets organized inside of the brain. So if we go into one of these areas, so in this case, servers, this is where an IT department has mapped out all of their different servers, and they have them organized by location. And then each one of those applications or each one of those servers is also connected up to the applications that it works with, right? So you can see the dependencies that are inherent in the network visualized right in front of you. So in this case, we've gone down through a SQL server called SQL Prod 1, and it hosts a database called MailRes, which is one of the company databases. And then built on top of that database is an application, in this case, Exchange or Outlook. And you can see that that is hosted on another server called MailServe, right? And then connected to each one of these nodes can be information about those particular resources, whether it's how to connect to them, where they're physically located, who's in charge of them, procedures for updating them, troubleshooting them. All of these things are interconnected, right? And we actually use a brain just like this for our own IT support. We have a fairly complicated IT infrastructure as we host tens of thousands of users. And in this case, we're taking advantage of a lot of the different features of the brain so that we can set up different types of information. So, all of the applications have a common icon. All of the databases have a database icon, and so forth. So there's different types of information, similar to how you would set up different tables in a database. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit into the details here, but the network maps that you commonly see for outlining an IT infrastructure, they might be wall sized and very difficult to expand and keep up to date because they have to be printed out at a gigantic scale each time and rearranged and so forth. But in this case, with the brain, you can very easily change those connections dynamically to represent what's actually happening in the real world. Let's move on to the next application. So now we're going to look at kind of a topic-focused brain, and we're going to get back to kind of our own digital brain, but this is just to kind of give people a feel for what's possible, right? So in this case, we have a brain about space, and it's organized via the solar system. So we've got the sun, which has Earth and Mars and Jupiter and so forth underneath it, and then connected to Earth, we have various missions that have happened, different space organizations, and then also connection to the moon, of course, which is the Earth satellite. And when I go over into a particular mission, I can find out all about it. So in this case, the Sentinel-6 mission, which was organized by the European Organization for Exploitation of Meteorological Satellites. And it took place in 2020. If we click over to 2020, we can see some of the other missions that happened in 2020. And that includes the Chang'e 5 mission. And when we go over to there, we can see that this was a mission launched by the China National Space Administration to the moon. And it was a sample return mission. So they went over there and got some pieces of the moon and brought them back. And if I click over into that tag, I can then see other types or other missions that have that same property, right? And this brain is one that you can explore on our website just by going to app.thebrain.com. Yeah, it goes on to show a lot of different connections in terms of any mission, you can find out about it. You can find out who was on it. You can find out what the goals were, all of these types of things. And these brains are, very easy to construct and collaborate on, right? So you're kind of seeing the final result now. And that's just to kind of give you a feel for what it is that we're aiming to do and what we're accomplishing here. But let's jump back now into kind of the our main digital brain. And this is kind of more how a single individual would use it to organize their life. So I'm going to let Matt kind of jump back in here, and we'll take you through a few scenarios.
Great. So I'm going to navigate into business expansion. So as you can see, I just clicked on the thought for active projects. Another one of my ongoing active projects is my company's business expansion. And as you can see over on the right, I've been taking notes. This has just been building over the past couple of months as we've been talking about expanding our business. So all my notes go on the left, and over in the Plex, and the structure of the Plex, are all of the important documents that I have. All the assets that I need for this particular project are easily accessible. And of course, these attachments will launch in their native application. So that launched on another monitor here, but I can click and drag that up. If I can get my mouse down there, there we go. So that launched a Word document for me. So I've got easy access to this, and I can continue on editing that document at any time. All documents will launch, like I said, in their native application. So I can continue to launch these, open those up, and continue editing over time. But I've got some new data. So let's talk about how these thoughts were created and how we get our data that's important to us into the brain. And each individual thought, as Harlan pointed out, it can have parent thoughts, jump thoughts, and child thoughts down below. So if I click and drag off the child gate, I'm simply creating a new child thought. So I've got a new thought for a project that I'm going to be working on, which is my my shareholder update. Now, this shareholder update that I'm going to be sending out to all of my company shareholders, it doesn't exist yet. So I need to actually create this document. And there's going to be a lot of information that goes into this document. For starters, I just want to keep a couple of notes before I even create the document from scratch. What is this document going to contain? So I really like to create checklists within my brain. It helps me review content and stay on top of all the different open tasks that I have. So I just click the dash. You can use the buttons in the toolbar up above, and there is a button here to create a new checklist. So I've started my new checklist, and I'm going to create a thought for my market report.
So the notes area where Matt is right now, it's actually a fully fledged editor that enables all types of notes and creating pretty robust documents. We've got spell check, we've got tables, we've got images. All of these things are fully supported, and it's actually built on top of Markdown, which is a very powerful way of being able to share formatted text. But we're unique in that we have a truly kind of what you see is what you get, or rich text editing features. So you don't actually have to know Markdown to be able to use it, but you still get all the advantages of being able to toggle Markdown on and off so that you can control the formatting carefully, or share it with other people in blogs and other things that utilize that format.
And with my checklist, I can simply keep track of, which step is complete, or which component I have already incorporated into the document that I'm going to be putting together. So the document itself, like I said, it does not exist yet. There's nothing to bring into the brain, but you can create new documents from scratch within the brain. I'm just going to select to attach, and I'm going to select the option to add a file from my template list. And each individual user of the brain can create their own template list. Whatever document types are most important to you, or pre-filled out documents that you use most often. So if you go down to template help, follow these on-screen instructions, it's going to open a directory. Anything you drop into this directory is going to be a template for you to use again and again in the future. So I'll click on attach, and I'll attach a file from my template list, which is going to be on my company letterhead. And so this launches a new Word document. And once again, it launched down below on another monitor. Let me bring that right up. And so this is just my sample letterhead that I have. And I can start in with, here is my new document. For my shareholders, I'll save this. Word does not ask me where I want to save that file to. It's been saved internally in my Brain database. So I can come back to this file at any point. Now, that brings me to a good point. You can utilize the Brain in whatever way works best for your environment. If you're on a network and you've got access to a shared drive that other people are accessing, very common scenario. You don't want to move those files into your local drive. You just want to point to them from the Brain so that you can, again, build out in the Brain all the relationships that those documents have with other projects you're working on. So when I bring documents into the Brain, that's what I like to do. I move them internally into the Brain, and that's just a setting within the application. And you can turn that on and off at any time, how you want to get your documents in. I'm going to pull some documents in now that I already have that I'm going to be referencing for this particular shareholder update. And as you can see, I can simply click and drag to bring them right into the Brain. I've got it set up to move that file into the Brain. I'll grab this PDF as well. And the great thing about PDFs is that they're actually going to load up right here in the content window. So I can scroll through this PDF without ever leaving the Brain application. And the same is true for web content as well. So I've got some web pages that, once again, I'm going to be referencing for my shareholder update. These are actually some Harvard classes that I want some of my colleagues to sign up for business strategies. And so that my shareholders know that we're fully trained on this business expansion. And again, I simply click and drag right into the Brain for a web page. It's right here from the URL. Simply drag and drop that into the Brain, and I've got quick and easy access to this. This is something that Harlan mentioned earlier about collections. You know, typically web pages would be all stored in my browser, bookmarks and favorites. Documents would be in a folder. Notes might be somewhere else. Now I have all the pieces of the puzzle together in one place. So anything that I'm going to be referencing for this document that I'm creating, the shareholder update, is easily accessible to me again and again at any point in the future. So I've created my document. I've brought in a couple of additional files and some web pages. I want to share a couple of tips and tricks with you. First off, we can create multiple thoughts at one time. And it's quite simply done with the semicolon, and it's a really great way to populate areas of your brain very quickly. I know everything that I want to incorporate into my shareholder update, so I can just start quickly typing to bring all of this content in. I'm going to have my October financials. I'm going to have my projections and my new, you see here, oops. There we go, my new projects that I'm working on. So you may have noticed I separated those with a semicolon, and I quickly created 3 individual thoughts at one time. We won't get into this today, but there are many different import options for you to bring existing data structures into the Brain. And that's a very simple one. If you can get a semicolon delineated list on your, copied onto your clipboard, you can paste into that field in the Brain and populate areas of your brain very quickly. And now, once I have it there, I can find all those cross-references. My October financials, I'm going to have a lot of financial information available in this document once I've created it and added it into the Brain, but that needs to be categorized under my financial statements. So I'm just going to type in a couple of letters, and you'll quickly see the brain finds all thoughts that already exist that matches what I've typed in so far. And of course, here are my financial statements are right there, financial statements. So I'll double click and link to that existing thought. As your brain grows and evolves over time, you'll start finding all of these cross references where data is related to other pieces of information throughout the brain. Yeah, go ahead.
So I guess this is kind of an important point right here. We started out in this the shareholder update area, and we've created this October financials thought. And this is a piece of information that belongs in more than one spot at a time. And in addition to just showing it under multiple places in the brain, this item serves as kind of a bridge between these two different worlds. One which is about the shareholder update, and one which is about financial statements, right? So this is where you can really start to see how the network effects of the brain take advantage, and how they really are able to build context for being able to understand what it is that you're looking at.
And the brain doesn't always or only remind you about existing content there in the plex. You saw when I started typing in that thought, if I just type in a couple of letters, it finds all content that has those letters in it so far. But it does that for you in the notes as well. Oh, let me undo that. Control Z. If I go back to my business expansion thought, for example, as I mentioned earlier, this is just an ongoing note that I have. Anytime I think of something that is really going to be valuable to me to reflect upon in the future about business expansion, I'm going to drop that note in. And as my note grows and evolves, the note itself within the brain sometimes identifies itself to me as being existing content elsewhere in the brain. And you can see Shelley, for example, she's underlined in blue in this particular note. That means there's an existing thought for Shelley in this brain. And I can simply right click and activate the Shelley thought. It does not need to be displayed in the structure of the Plex. The note is just reminding me that content exists. And so I can quickly navigate over to Shelley's thought. I made a note about contacting Shelley about some of the business expansions, and I can quickly look up her phone number, her email address, because I have that notes preserved in this area of my brain, a completely different area. As you can see, Shelley works under research and development with her team. So there's no reason to have a permanent link in the Plex from Shelley to that business expansion. She's just simply being referenced. And if I happen to be on the phone with Shelley, I can see down below anywhere where Shelley might be getting mentioned in another thought elsewhere in my brain. You can see that Shelley is financing the budget for accounting for our website budget. Down below, she's creating a market report for our shareholder update and doing some web design plans as well. So the brain is reminding me of content that I've created a connection between the two, but my own organic brain might not have even noticed, but the digital brain picks it up right away. And another really great feature that I want to share with you, I'm going to navigate back to my shareholder update. And one of the business expansion plans that we have is we've got a lot of new developments in Beijing, and we are going to start looking for renting some office space in Beijing. Now, for this example, I have no idea how to go about renting office space in Beijing. That's going to take a lot of research. I'm going to go onto Google, do my search, and one by one read through all of these different web pages. It's going to take a lot of time. So I'm going to expedite this process. I'm going to create the new thought here in the brain. So I create the new thought. And again, rather than doing all that meticulous Google research and bringing one piece of content in at a time, I'm going to click the AI button, and I'm going to have the brain create an entire thought structure for me. And a couple of different things are going to happen. Number one, it's going to be multi-tiered. So I'm really going to have a nice little outline of different processes that will either get the creative juices flowing, get me started with my research, or just enlighten me, things that I might not have thought about in the past. So the brain is working right now and creating this structure. And this is a new feature in the brain. I'm not sure if you want to reference the Brain 14 or talk a little bit about that.
Sure, yeah. So the Brain 14 is currently in beta. It'll be out, very soon now. But you can download it already on our website. And one of the new features is this integration with AI, which really can help expedite the creation of brains and really help, especially with brainstorming and researching areas that maybe you're not familiar with yet. So in this example, Matt's asked it to create a brain section of his brain about renting office space, and it's just gone out and kind of created all of this content automatically. Right.
And notice that everything is sort of highlighted right now in green. That's because you are introducing a lot of new content into your brain. It may not have brought back exactly what you were looking for. So you've got these great options to either accept these changes, redo, or discard. I'll go ahead and accept these. And
hang on.
go ahead.
Hey, Matt, just let me add a little bit more things here. Just to get that into Chinese, so more and more people will know that. So 那么刚刚大家看到就是说，那个 Matt 跟那个 Harlan 他们两个的演示这个系统，这个系统里面呢，就是这个系统呢有一点像我们平时大家所接触到的那个 Mind Map 或者是 Xmind 等等这样的文件，但它这里面呢。它里面的跟它不一样的地方是在哪里呢？就是在把这个所有东西呢，大家都看到，它刚才在给大家演示的过程中间呢，它不仅仅只是把一个信息所放在那地方，它是想让很多信息放在那地方以后呢，可以建立相互之间的搜索、查询、链接。同时呢，在它的第14版，Hannah, am I right? The new version is on version 14, is that right?
That's correct. Yes. Version 14 is the version that has the AI features.
Yeah. 那么它的第14版本最新的版本里呢，它跟 AI 里面结合了。大家看到刚才他们刚才演示的时候，有个很神奇的现象是什么呢？当他也是在北京办公室租一个 office 的时候，那么租这个 office， 他知道租这个 office 我也不知道该怎么办，然后他可能就让我也不知道如何去租一个 office。OK， 所以他就找了 AI 去帮他去立刻给他一个起草了一个方案，那么 AI 来啪就是给他起草个方案，那再你就按照这个方案呢去做你的后面这些文件，所以在这种他就把这个整个一个系统呢变成一个智能化，一个在这种方式呢，能让你的整个工作呢变得更加简单。所以呢，这个工具呢弄完以后，它就变成是呢，不仅仅是让你做笔记本身，而是呢。做出来超出你笔记本身以外的那块东西，这一块呢，我希望大家呢，等一下认真去听一听啊，你去看一下他怎么做的，好吧 ？OK, now hand over to you. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And we can continue on with a couple of additional. I'm not seeing any of the content that I was expecting. Maybe if I go down to, should I try this one?
I'm not sure.
Well, I was going to build a note. I'm looking for maybe, this inspires me to find a real estate agent. I know nothing about this agency. So I'm going to take my AI search over to the note itself, and I'll click on the AI button here and generate a note. There we go. So I've got the entire history of this particular company. That's not me typing. I don't type that fast, but I'll have a nice complete note that's all about this particular topic. And you may have noticed there were some different drop-down menu options there. You can tell AI how creative you want it to be, what language you would like the results to be produced in. I can even then take this note after I'm done, and I'll share with you a couple of different options once it's completed. It's giving me a really nice background. You could also specify how many characters that you want it to, how in-depth you want the AI to go. They're even going into the future plans for this particular company and developer, which is great.
So yeah, all of the AI features. Go ahead, Fisher.
Yeah, let me add on for this one. 那么他刚刚用的这个公司呢，叫525家这个房产公司，但他并不知道这家公司的任何情况。OK，他呢，然后呢，把525家这个公司名字输上去以后呢，然后用 AI 去产生了很多关于这家公司的一些基本信息。那么在这家公司的基本信息，你同时呢，你不需要去再自己从网上去找了，你只找这个相关的信息，然后你把点上去以后，然后它用系统来自动给你去集成到所有这相关的信息。那么在这种情况，你像他刚刚前面讲的说，我要在北京租办公室，那么他找了，我说你让系统给他产生了，我要找办公室，我要可能有多少家的这个房产公司，它的系统自动帮你找出来。系统找出来，你要针对每家房产公司它的基本情况，你让系统来自动去帮你找。所以在这种情况下，他在做笔记的过程里，我们平时呢，可能只是说哦，别人告诉你说我去记个笔记，哦，你要去租房子，找了哪几个房产公司，那去找一下。那么你自己找一家房产公司，找到以后，你还自己去搜索，自己去找很多东西，你要去自己来记这个笔记，包括每家公司之间相互之间它的优缺点，它的长处和它的短板。可能每家情况都不一样，那它通过系统呢，自动去帮你系统筛选，也就是它这个系统呢，不仅也就像你平时做的一个 Xmind 图或者是 Mind Map 图，它是已经把你相当于一个整个数据库的一个集成，然后呢，并且能够在里面产生计算和搜索这样的功能。OK，over to you.
Let's just do the task extraction and then move on.
Sure. So task extraction, as I mentioned earlier, I've got this nice long note that I've been working on. I want to assign this to someone else in my department to review this content and take a look and find out if business expansion should happen for my company or not. So once again, I'm going back to the AI and I'm going to ask the AI just to extract this very long note, which would be 2 or 3 pages, into a checklist. It summarizes the entire note, as you can see, into, looks like we're getting about 10 different steps that need to be reviewed. So I can submit these 10 steps to my colleague and have them complete the task.
Yeah. So we could talk about the AI features for a long time, but I kind of want to move forward and jump ahead to some other things. But yeah, needless to say, there's a wide variety of capabilities that we've built on top of the AI that are built right into the notes editor. So it's a pretty powerful component for enabling working quickly and taking advantage of all the latest technologies. A few other things that I want to get to before we go to Q&A, and I know we're running out of time. Let's just show very quickly the other views. So this is kind of the basic view of how your brain looks. We do have multiple ways of presenting the data, though. So first of all, we can go ahead and show an additional generation of information. So what Matt's just done is there's click the expand all button. And as you can see now, we can see multiple steps out from where we are right now. This can get quite sophisticated in terms of the number of thoughts, because each time you go out another generation, it's kind of an exponential growth. But there are other ways of viewing the information also. This is kind of like a more traditional mind map view. And in the mind map view, you have the active item in the center, and then sort of the branching hierarchies out to the sides. This is more typical of what you'd see in something like Xmind. And you can interactively work with this. So Matt, if you want to just mouse over one of these items, we can collapse and expand each one of these nodes kind of as we to focus in on what we're most interested in. And then we also have an outline view, if you want to switch over to that one. And in the outline view, you get your network presented as an outline, as you can imagine. So, but unlike a traditional outline, you can have multiple parents for each piece of information. So as you navigate through the outline, it's going to kind of rearrange itself depending on what your current focus is. So if Matt, you want to click into something that has multiple parents there.
Oh, sure. I think I was just there.
Yeah, why don't you go into what do we got here? Yeah, there we go. Finance or okay.
Okay, go ahead.
We're not in the right area here, but in any case, the point being that as you navigate through different parts of the outline, the entire display shifts. So here we have at financial advisors. Normally, you could only expand downward. In this case, we're expanding upward as well. Right, so I can go all the way back up to my business, or I can see that this is something that's also classified under resources and tools, which is connected to the stock portfolio and Tesla and all these other things that this person is working on. Right, so there's many different ways of presenting the data, and we also have an API that you can use to access this information programmatically if you so choose. The other couple things I want to just mention, I guess, is the fact that all of this data and everything that we're doing is synced to a server, which means I have a local copy of it on my computer. So if I were to lose network connectivity, or I was somewhere isolated in a cave, I could still access all my information and not just view it, but also make changes. And when I get online later on, it will sync back up to the cloud and resolve any conflicts that may have happened. Multiple people can work on the same brain at the same time, and those changes are all interconnected as needed. The brain is available on multiple platforms. We happen to be in Windows right now. We also have a desktop client for Mac OS, and the brain is also available on iPhone. Matt's got this brain up on his phone right here. I don't know how well you guys can see that, but hopefully you get an idea there. So we do have the full client there as well. If you happen to be somewhere that you don't have access to your computer, but you have a web browser, you can also log in, and we have a web client, which is pretty full featured, and you can access all your information from there as well. Yeah, all of that synchronization and so forth enables collaboration, which is quite unique inside the brain in that it's easy to build on top of what other people have created. And it does do a full tracking of who's making which changes so that you can see that history and easily jump into a list of changes of who's done what the most recent changes are, and so on. So there's a lot of functionality that we haven't been able to touch on, but hopefully we've given you enough of a taste of it that you'll be interested in coming to check it out. For sure. Should we take any questions, or do you want to ask some questions on behalf of the audience?
This is very good. Let me translate this into Chinese. I think that this this information is so critical to our people. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So 那么刚刚就是哈兰先生讲了，跟包括跟 Max 先生讲了，跟这个整个一个系统呢，大家可以看到它有成为一个树状结构一样，它可以分级的去往上面找，可以往下面去找。OK， 那么这个呢，从表面上看，你看着它有点像 X-mind 图或者像 mind map 图样的，但实际上它里面的功能呢，可能远远超出那一块。OK， 那么当然这个系统呢，它做的时候呢，它有这种就是单机版和网络版，也就是说，那么它这个就是在这个网络版里面整个做完以后呢，你在手机上、在电脑上面，甚至在任何一个这种设备上都可以去那个同步。你做完东西，在一个账户下，所有东西信息都可以同步。在这种情况下，你不用担心你的所有的数据进行丢失，也就是你的数据只有你个人可以去获取的。然后呢，所以呢，哪怕在有些地方你可能没有网络，比如举个例子，你可能没有网络，或者你没带电脑。那么你没带电脑，你有网络版登录进去以后，在网络上整个做完以后，你的个人信息呢就可以一旦网络通知就可以同步到你所有其他的设备里面去的。OK， 这是第一点。第二点呢，他讲的一个东西是什么呢？他这边呢开发的版本呢，就是说不但是针对于个人版的这个操作，它还有团队版的，就是几个人同时做一个项目。几个人同时做一个项目，然后几个人做的项目里，几个人写的这些信息里面呢，也可以这些相互之间同步，它可以在系统里面呢去看到，就是哪个环节是谁 就是要修改的部分，谁做哪些环节的变更，哪个环节的变更信息是由谁去变更的，这个信息呢在系统里面都可以看到是谁去做这样的。那么这样呢就会达到一种团队之间相互之间协调。那么在这个系统里面呢，他做了一件很重要的一件事情，他把所有人的大脑呢，相当于给它连接起来，而不是仅仅说你只是一个人的大脑连接起来。所以我觉得这为什么呢？当我上次看到这个系统，我觉得这个系统呢很神奇，所以我就想把这个东西介绍给大家。Thank you, Harlan and Matt.
Very good. All right, thank you, Fisher. Are there any questions that we can answer in a very short time?
Yeah, okay, thank you, Harlan and Matt. OK， 那么现在我们问一下，看哪些人还有哪些问题想去问的。哪些有问题要问吗？哪些有问题问的？你在你的 chat box 里面，在你那个 chat box 里面可以打出来，或者是让你说出来都可以的，有吧？有哪些问题吗？有哪些人有问题吗？有问题现在可以问出来。Okay, so okay, it seems that they didn't have the question yet. Maybe I can ask you one question, Harlan or Matt. So actually, when I see, I mean, watch your systems, even I try to use it. I saw it's so magic. So I'm thinking of whether you have very good training systems in Chinese. For example, you just train the people to use your system step by step, and then that will help them to be a new user and get familiar with them afterwards, for example. So do you have that or not?
Yeah, we certainly do. You can visit our website, www.thebrain.com. And if you go to the download page, you can download the installer for the Brain for Windows or Mac. If you're brand new to the Brain, you'll have all the bells and whistles, all the features available for 30 days. And at the end of that 30 days, you can continue on using any Brain database or databases that you've created. And it's up to you to decide if you want to stay with a free license, more limited capabilities, or purchase a pro license, pro combo, where you're syncing to the cloud, all the way up to Team Brain, where you're collaborating with multiple individuals in the same Brain database.
Yeah, one of the unique things about the Brain is that if you do choose to use it for free, there is a unlimited amount of information that you can add to the Brain. We don't actually say like, oh, you can only add X number of hundreds of thoughts or thousands of thoughts. It's just like a sort of a different level of functionality. But well over 90% of the functionality is available for free. And then, we do have tutorials, as Matt said. There's a tutorials page from our website. Unfortunately, they're all in English, but you can turn on, what do they call it?
Subtitles.
Subtitles, yeah. Thank you. You can turn on subtitles, and those are available in Chinese. And we also have the software localized in Chinese. Most of this was done with AI, so you'll have to forgive us if you find any major errors. Please let us know. We'll fix them. Yeah, we've done our best to accommodate. Yeah. And the software itself does support Chinese also in terms of all of the content, all of the notes and thoughts and so forth. It's been pretty extensively tested and used throughout the world, but also particularly in China.
I don't think we may have locked up. Fisher, let us know if you can still hear us.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Harlan. Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, man. I guess we just lost Fisher. Okay.
No, I think he's trying to communicate.
Looks like he's back. Hi, Fisher.
So Fisher, you mute yourself.
Yeah, sorry, I have some connection issues just now. Okay, let me get back to the translations side. 说，那么刚刚我问了一个汉兰先生，包括个 Matthew 先生说，哎，这个系统里面有没有一个很好的一个，比如中文版的，比如说去培训我们的新手，从一步一步去使用这个系统。那么他刚刚的回答是什么呢？就是这个软件里面呢，它是这样的。14版本呢，它是前面是最新版本，那么前面的其他前面的版本呢，你可以从网上去下载，下载来你可以用30天的免费使用，然后30天免费使用以后呢，那30天到期以后，你可以选择是去买它的新的版本，还是用它旧的版本呢？旧的版本里面只是呢很多的有一部分功能呢可能有点不一样，那么它在整个在做的过程中间呢，就是说这里面呢可能80%-90%的这些功能呢。在旧的版本里面可能都有，所以大家如果有空呢，到他的网站上去下载试一试。那网站的域名网站域名叫3w.thebrain.com，THEBRAIN.com 到这个网站上去看一下。那么看一下呢，它这边网站呢，目前呢有很多这个培训资料呢都是英文版的，但英文版你可以去选择里面的对中文字幕。他们在上次做过一次叫中文字幕。那做完中文字幕呢，你可以看它很多的培训资料呢，是以中文字幕进行展示的。那么 OK， 他现在已经做到了，现在已经在弄这一块了。你看，大家可以看到现在在展示这一块。那么这个呢，就是它的这个软件呢，目前呢，它所具备这样的功能。当然了，也许以后呢，可能随着更多的中国朋友在使用它软件呢，可能会有专门的可能不需要翻译的这个软件啊，可能直接就用中文在进行做，好吧？这边跟大家去分享一下。OK。I think this is a good demonstration for this for the brain. Yeah. 那么目前呢，他们展示的就是这个The Brain 网站上面的这个一个3分钟的视频。那3分钟视频呢，让我们来看一看这个3分钟视频。OK, let's play this video. Highlight and Matt.
Okay. Very good.
Wonderful.
We'll give it a real whirl here.
欢迎来到，这是一个专注于您的想法而设计的地方。这就是你的想法在大脑中变成现实的地方。我可以从自己独特的角度看待对我来说重要的一切，而你的大脑可以关注对你来说重要的任何事情。那里有很多应用程序，但大脑是一个从一开始就被设计为专注于你的想法的地方。我可以从一个想法开始，直观地描绘出我的想法，并积累我的知识。当你的创造力需要提升时，让大脑的人工智能为你做这件事。结果可以添加为构建的想法或注释。所有这些网站、文件和文件夹也都在这里。播放任何文件或网页，一旦它们进入大脑，它们就可以连接到其他一切。在大脑中，任何主题都可以与其他任何主题链接，因此您不必考虑它位于哪个文件夹中。这可以帮助您和您的团队发现否则会被忽视的相关想法和文件。你知道那些有时你会忘记的很棒的想法吗？它们现在都在你的大脑里了。只需输入几个字母，它们就会立即激活所有相关连接。或者进一步利用大脑强大的搜索功能，该搜索功能还可以索引所有附加文件和内容。借助大脑强大的笔记编辑器，您可以记下您的想法，它会自动连接到任何其他提及该内容的内容。您还可以创建标签和想法类型，以进一步分类和组织想法。您的大脑始终在您的桌面、手机、网络浏览器或平板电脑上，因此您可以随时添加新想法。当你分享好的想法时，它们会变得更好。您可以保持您的大脑隐私，或与您的同事保持联系，将团队成员添加到任何大脑中，连接想法并实现您的业务战略。 您的大脑中可以产生的想法和联系的数量是无限的。这是终极知识库，它真正成为你思想的延伸，帮助你获得洞察力，更深入的思考，并取得更多成就。
Thank you, Helen, and Matt. This is wonderful. This is wonderful sessions for us.
Very good. Thank you, Fisher. We really appreciate the opportunity, and thank you so much, everyone, for attending.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Fisher.
Thank you.
Thank
We will keep in touch. Thank you for all our people here on the line. 感谢各位朋友在线啊。今天呢，我们因为时间关系呢，我们今天就到此。然后呢，因为我知道在美国呢，已经8点多钟了啊，在那个旧金山在那个洛杉矶，他们已经8点多钟了。所以呢，这已经是蛮晚的了。那对他们来说 ，OK。那么此时此刻，我想今天这个分享呢，应该是给大家来说呢，可能会有同样的感觉。就像我当时那样的感觉，就是给我们很多这样的启示，就是说我们可以把很多的文件、很多的这记忆的笔记，可以把它串联起来，变成我们的智慧，对吧？不仅仅让它只成为我们随手记下来一个碎片，随手一丢。我们这样的可以把它串起来，成为一个我们大脑中间最值钱、最有价值的那份东西啊，让你人生呢这个不断的积累的东西呢，不至于被丢掉啊，好吧 ？OK， 那今天非常感谢Harlan先生和那个我们 Matt 先生，谢谢，非常感谢 ，Thank you both, Thank you.
Okay, to
Have a
everybody.
good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye bye. 那么后面呢，我就想跟大家分享一下是什么呢？就是说，今天呢，我们这个活动呢，就结束以后呢，后面还有一个信息跟大家分享，就是什么呢？就是我们在下周，叫下周，就是11月13号和14号，那我们呢，下周一和周二，我们在瑞士达沃斯举办第1届隐形知识管理达沃斯论坛啊。那么这个如果大家有兴趣去在线上参加我们的论坛，欢迎你扫码关注这个信息啊。因为呢，这个呢，现在对你来说呢，可能线下去参加呢，可能不现实。可能第一呢，你没有拿到签证；第二呢，可能你没有去预订机票和酒店等等，可能会比较麻烦。所以呢，在这个最后时刻呢，对大家来说最好的方式呢，可能就在线去参加。那么这个在线参加呢，在线参加完以后，你还可以基本上你如果是买在线参加，我们这次所有在线参加的朋友都将获得我们达沃斯论坛的所有演讲嘉宾的视频以及 PPT。OK， 所以这些这些东西呢都是蛮难得的啊。那这是一块。那另外一块呢，我们就是今天活动结束以后呢，我们希望大家呢给我们一个反馈啊。因为每次呢，我们讲座结束以后，都请大家给我们一个反馈，这些反馈呢，都是是帮助我们更好的去做好我们的论坛，好吧？好，最后然后感谢大家参与，谢谢，我们下次再见啊。然后同时呢，欢迎大家关注我们11月13号、14号我们达沃斯论坛的这个直播啊，达沃斯论坛的现场直播啊，谢谢各位关注，谢谢，下周见，拜拜。